In the quaint town of Maplewood, where tree-lined streets whispered with the rustle of leaves and the air carried the sweet scent of blooming flowers from the nearby park, life unfolded with a gentle rhythm. Birds sang from the branches, and the townsfolk exchanged warm smiles as they went about their days. But beneath this serene surface, a storm was brewing, one that would ripple through the heart of the community and leave behind a powerful lesson about kindness, fairness, and the courage to stand for what's right. At the corner of Elm Street stood a luxurious jewelry shop, its windows gleaming with promises of elegance and refinement. Inside, glass cases sparkled under soft golden lights, showcasing diamonds that caught the eye and gold chains that shimmered like threads of sunlight. It was a place of beauty and quiet sophistication, a haven for those seeking something special. On this particular afternoon, Evelyn Carter stepped through the door, the little bell above chiming softly to announce her arrival. She was a woman of poise and resilience, a district attorney who had spent her life battling for justice in courtrooms filled with tension and truth. But today, she wasn't clad in her sharp blazer or addressing a judge. Today, she was simply a daughter, searching for a perfect necklace to gift her mother, a small token of love amid the chaos of her world. Evelyn's presence was unassuming. Jeans paired with a crisp white blouse, her dark hair swept into a neat bun. She carried herself with quiet confidence as she browsed the shop, her eyes landing on a delicate silver locket nestled in a velvet-lined case. The peaceful hum of the store enveloped her, and for a moment, she felt a rare calm settle over her. But that calm wouldn't last. Behind the counter loomed Victor Grayson, the shop's manager, a man whose heart had long since hardened under the weight of cynicism. To Victor, the world was a ledger of worth, and he judged every soul who crossed his threshold by superficial measures: their clothes, their accents, the tilt of their chins. He ruled his domain with an iron grip, enforcing a warped sense of order that bent to his prejudices. Today, those biases would unravel him. Evelyn approached the counter, her voice warm and polite. "Good afternoon," she said, gesturing to the locket. "I'd like to see this necklace, please." Victor barely lifted his gaze. His eyes, cold and unyielding, flicked over her casual attire, and in an instant, he'd made up his mind. To him, she was an outsider, unworthy of the elegance his shop promised. His lips pressed into a thin line as he crossed his arms. "Are you lost?" he asked, his tone cutting through the air like a blade. Evelyn blinked, caught off guard. "Excuse me. This isn't the kind of place where people like you just waltz in and act like they belong," he snapped, his voice rising. The shop fell silent. Heads turned. Whispers snaked through the air as customers paused, their curiosity piqued by the unfolding scene. Evelyn felt the weight of every stare, but she didn't falter. Her hazel eyes remained steady, her posture unshaken. "I don't understand," she said evenly. "I'm here to buy a necklace, just like anyone else." Victor's smirk was sharp, venomous. "Sure, that's what they all say. I think you should leave." The words stung, not because they wounded her pride, but because they laid bare the ignorance she'd spent her life fighting against. As a district attorney, Evelyn had faced down hardened criminals and corrupt systems, but this petty injustice, over something as simple as a necklace, cut deeper than she'd expected. She took a breath, steadying herself. "Why are you asking me to leave?" she asked, her voice a calm anchor in the rising tension. Victor scoffed, his arrogance swelling. "Because I don't serve people like you." The statement landed like a thunderclap. A woman by the window gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. A man near the display of rings shook his head in quiet disgust. But no one spoke up. Fear held them captive, fear of confrontation, fear of being cast out themselves. The air grew heavy, charged with the unspoken weight of cowardice. Evelyn exhaled slowly, her resolve hardening. She'd seen this ugliness before, prejudice wearing 1,000 masks, but she'd never let it triumph. Reaching into her bag, she pulled out her wallet and flipped it open. The gold badge of the district attorney's office glinted under the shop's lights, a silent proclamation of her authority. Victor's face drained of color, his bravado crumbling. "My name is Evelyn Carter," she said, her voice firm yet measured. "I'm the district attorney of this county, and I know the law better than most." The room stilled. A hush fell over the shop, thick and suffocating. Victor stumbled back, his hands trembling as the reality of his misstep crashed over him. He judged her by his own twisted yardstick, and now that yardstick had snapped. His breath quickened, panic clawing at his chest as his mind scrambled for excuses. But there were none. The weight of his actions pressed down on him, a collapsing fortress of his own making. Regret flickered in his eyes, but it was too late, far too late. Before he could muster a response, the shop door swung open with force. 2 police officers strode in, their boots thudding against the polished floor. Victor had called them earlier, intending to have Evelyn escorted out, to shame her into submission. But fate had other plans. One of the officers, Sergeant Michael Torres, froze as his gaze landed on Evelyn. He knew her well. They'd worked together on countless cases, her fierce dedication to justice earning his unwavering respect. He'd seen her dismantle lies in courtrooms and lift up the downtrodden with quiet strength. If Evelyn was here, something had gone terribly wrong. His jaw tightened as he shifted his attention to Victor, piecing together the scene with a single glance. "Is there a problem here, ma'am?" Torres asked, his tone laced with deference. Evelyn offered a faint smile. "I was just trying to buy a necklace." Victor's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. His plan had backfired spectacularly. He'd summoned the police to bolster his authority, only to find himself exposed, a petty tyrant undone by his own malice. The second officer stepped forward, his voice clipped. "Mr. Grayson, we need to speak with you outside." Victor stammered, his voice breaking as he tried to protest, but the officers were unmoved. They guided him out, the door clicking shut behind them. Inside, the shop held its breath, every eye fixed on the quiet drama's resolution. A young sales associate, who'd watched the exchange in silent horror, hurried to the counter. Her hand shook slightly as she met Evelyn's gaze, her voice soft with apology. "I'll get the necklace for you right away, ma'am." Evelyn's smile softened, warm and genuine. "Thank you." The lesson hung in the air, clear as daylight. Hate and prejudice might strut with false strength, but they shatter beneath the steady force of truth and courage. Outside, Victor faced the fallout, his job lost, his reputation in tatters, the hollow power he'd clung to stripped away. But the real victory unfolded within the shop's walls, where Evelyn cradled the silver locket in her hands. The air felt lighter, infused with something stronger than bitterness, hope. As she left the shop that day, Evelyn knew the world still had miles to go. Every small triumph mattered, though, every act of defiance against cruelty, every stand for dignity. Driving home, her thoughts drifted to those who'd faced what she had without the shield of a badge or the weight of a title. She pictured the single mother turned away from a job for no reason but bias, the young dreamer dismissed because of their roots, the countless souls silenced by fear. Her chest tightened with resolve. She'd keep fighting, not just in courtrooms, but in the everyday moments where justice was forged, where hearts and minds could shift. The city lights streaked past her window, a blur of gold against the dusk. This was one battle among many, but each choice to rise above fear, to choose truth over ignorance and kindness over hate, nudged the world closer to something better. That was a future worth chasing. Evelyn glanced at the necklace resting on the passenger seat, a gift for her mother, yes, but also a symbol of resilience, a reminder of the strength it takes to push back against darkness. One battle at a time, she murmured to herself, we changed the world. No one stood above kindness, and no one fell beneath respect. To judge others through the lens of fear or prejudice was to diminish the world itself. True power lay not in tearing others down, but in lifting them up with dignity. In the end, justice always found its path, and truth burned through the shadows like a beacon. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Evelyn's heart swelled with purpose. The fight for what was right was never easy, but it was always worth it. And with every step, she'd walk that road, because a world rooted in fairness and love was a world worth building.